The story of Iran for the last 4 decades is inseparable from the story of one man, Ali Khamenei. To understand the Islamic Republic today, its defiance, its internal struggles, and its regional influence, you have to understand the journey of its second supreme leader. It's a journey that began not in the halls of power, but in a humble religious home in the holy city of Mashhad. Born in 1939, Ali Khamenei was the second son of a modestly respected cleric. His family wasn't wealthy, but they were deeply pious. This was an environment saturated with faith. Young Ali was sent to a religious school, a madrasa, where he dedicated himself to the study of the Quran and Islamic theology. He showed a sharp mind and an insatiable appetite for learning. This thirst for knowledge led him on a well-trodden path for ambitious Sharia clerics, the prestigious seminaries of Najaf in Iraq, and later, the intellectual hub of Qom in Iran. It was in Qom during the 1960s that his life would intersect with a figure who would completely redefine it, Ayatollah Ruhollah Khomeini. This doctrine argued that in the absence of the 12th Imam, a just and qualified Islamic jurist should rule society, ensuring it adhered to God's law. For the young Khamenei, it was a revelation. It fused his deep faith with a powerful political vision. While Khomeini was soon forced into exile for his outspoken criticism, Khamenei remained in Iran. He began to put Khomeini's ideas into practice, not just in quiet study, but in open defiance. The Iran of the 1970s, under the rule of Shah Mohammad Reza Pahlavi, was a place of immense wealth for a tiny elite and brutal suppression for anyone who opposed him. The Shah's secret police, the notorious Savak, were everywhere. Khamenei, now a young cleric back in Mashhad, became a vocal critic of the regime, which he saw as a corrupt, un-Islamic puppet of Western powers like the United States. He began giving fiery speeches, organizing resistance, and spreading Khomeini's messages, which were smuggled into the country on cassette tapes. This was a dangerous game. He was arrested multiple times, imprisoned, and tortured. Each time he was released, he went right back to his activism, his resolve only hardening. He was building a reputation not just as a scholar, but as a man of action, a brave revolutionary willing to sacrifice his freedom and his safety for his beliefs. By the late 1970s, the disparate threads of opposition to the Shah, from religious traditionalists to communist guerrillas and secular nationalists, began to weave together into a massive, unstoppable tapestry of protest. The streets of Tehran and other major cities filled with millions of demonstrators. The Shah's military, once a formidable force, began to crumble under the weight of the popular will. In January 1979, the Shah fled Iran. A few weeks later, Ayatollah Khomeini returned from exile to a rapturous welcome from millions. The revolution was complete. Khamenei, at just 40 years old, was no longer a dissident. He was a key figure in the new order. Khomeini trusted him, and he was quickly appointed to crucial posts, a member of the Revolutionary Council, the Deputy Minister of Defense, and the leader of Friday prayers in Tehran. He was on the front lines of building a new state from the ashes of the old one, a state that would be governed by the principles of the Islamic Revolution. But the newborn republic was immediately tested. In 1980, Saddam Hussein's Iraq, backed by much of the Arab world and the West, invaded Iran, sparking a devastating 8-year war. This brutal conflict defined Iran for a decade. The very same year, Khamenei survived a vicious assassination attempt. A bomb, hidden in a tape recorder, was detonated as he was giving a press conference. He was horrifically injured, and the attack permanently paralyzed his right arm. But he survived, and this near-death experience only enhanced his image as a resilient, unbreakable figure. The following year, in 1981, he was elected president of Iran. For 8 years, he served as president during the most difficult period in the country's modern history. He was a wartime leader, managing a country under siege, facing massive human and economic costs. He was a constant presence on the front lines, projecting an image of stoic courage. He worked closely with Khomeini, who was the ultimate authority, but he gained invaluable experience in managing the state, the military, and the sprawling new revolutionary institutions like the Revolutionary Guards. Then, on June 3, 1989, the unthinkable happened. Ayatollah Khamenei died. The revolution had lost its father, its singular guiding star. The country was plunged into uncertainty. Who could possibly fill his shoes? The man who was expected to succeed him, the Grand Ayatollah Hossein Ali Montazeri, had fallen out of favor. The Assembly of Experts, a body of clerics tasked with choosing the next leader, needed someone who was both a committed revolutionary and a capable political operator. In a move that surprised many, they selected Ali Khamenei. The problem was, Khamenei did not have the scholarly credentials to be a source of emulation, a top-tier Grand Ayatollah, which Khomeini had been. To solve this, his title was elevated to Ayatollah, and the constitution was quietly amended to remove the requirement that the supreme leader be a source of emulation. He would now be the country's ultimate religious and political authority, a position he has held for over 35 years, making him the longest-serving leader in the Middle East. As supreme leader, Khamenei is the commander-in-chief, the head of the judiciary, and the man who controls the state media. While Iran has an elected president and parliament, their power is ultimately circumscribed by his. It is Khamenei who sets the grand strategy of the Islamic Republic. His foreign policy has been defined by a deep, almost theological, distrust of the United States, which he calls the Great Satan, and an unrelenting hostility towards Israel. Under his watch, Iran has built a network of regional influence, what he calls the axis of resistance, supporting groups like Lebanon's Hezbollah, Palestine's Hamas, and the government of Bashar al-Assad in Syria. This has projected Iranian power across the region, but has also led to crippling international sanctions. Simultaneously, he has overseen Iran's controversial nuclear program, which the West fears is a weapons program, while Iran insists it is for peaceful purposes. At home, his tenure has been marked by a constant tension between the revolutionary ideals of the state and the aspirations of its people, particularly its youth. When protests have erupted, and they have, with increasing frequency from the Green Movement in 2009 to protests over economic hardship in 2019, to the massive woman-led uprising following the death of Mahsa Amini in 2022, Khamenei's response has been consistent. He frames them not as legitimate internal grievances, but as sedition, foreign plots orchestrated by Iran's enemies to destabilize the Islamic Republic. In his view, the revolution is a divine mandate, and any opposition to it is, by definition, an act of war. Now in his mid-80s and reportedly in ill health, the question of succession looms over the Islamic Republic. Ayatollah Ali Khamenei's eventual passing will mark the end of an era, triggering a pivotal and potentially turbulent transition for a system he has dominated for decades. His death will not just be the loss of a leader, but the closing of a chapter that began with the 1979 revolution itself. It will force the regime to confront its future without the man who has been its ultimate arbiter for over 35 years.